Welcome back. Government is looking for all mine workers who have not claimed compensation funds, class action settlement funds and pension or provident funds. Deputy ministers will be embarking on these initiatives with the hopes of at least finding dependents of those who qualify. An amount of about 10 billion rands that has not been claimed. The Health Deputy Minister, Dr. Sibongiseni Dlomo, joins us now for more on this. Doctor, thank you so much for joining us this evening. Now, who qualifies for this unclaimed 10 billion rands?
Thank you very much, Katlego, and thank you very much to your viewers. Exactly as you are putting it, Katlego, it is those former mine workers who were young and old-bodied men who left their homestead far away from home and left and went to Johannesburg, went to Kimberley, went to Shobane and all over the country, bringing the wealth of our country. Now, a lot of them are old, some have passed on, and they have not really realized the benefits that was due to them. Some got illnesses like TB, silicosis, and therefore have to become compensated for the occupational disease. We are now on this trail in KwaZulu-Natal, the belt mainly Newcastle, Dundee, Pongola, Nongoma, and Lundi. So we are trying to gather as many of those, including maybe families where they say our dad passed on 3 years ago, TB related, and he worked in the mines. So those are the people who should qualify. We would want to do this. Of course, these South Africans and also citizens of SADC were actually registered with the Department of Labour and Employment. That is why Deputy Minister Mloy is part of leading this process. And they were in the Mineral, Energy and Resource Department. Deputy Minister Nkabane is therefore part of this. And we would have to examine and confirm that, yes, they have this illness and that, medical assessments for them to be, what is due to be paid to them. So health comes in there. So this is money that is already sitting there in the banks and everywhere in the country for these South Africans and SADC people who are not able to go back to Joburg and get this money. So we are on the trail to catch and get them in the KwaZulu-Natal and pay as quickly as we can so that they can actually realize, maybe not so many of them because they've passed on, but their families can benefit from all these benefits that are due to them.
Now, Deputy Minister, you speak of monies that are already sitting in the banks. Many mine workers who had sustained injuries while working in South African mines have in the past said that they find it nearly impossible to claim for compensation. What are the causes for these backlogs?
Because, Katlego, you actually have to prove that you really got injured and it was in this mine and this is the injury. Somebody must do x-rays, they must confirm, and there must be a report. And that report must then be able to say, yes, this compensation, this disability is amounting to this type of an amount. Now, you can't ask a 65-year-old, a 70-year-old man who worked a long time ago to come to Joburg and that is why we are going to be on a medical assessment trail, bringing all the x-rays, bringing the experts, the doctors to examine them right there in Nongoma, right there in Ulundi, and then examine them. As we do everywhere in the country, we have even been to Shai right in Mozambique and in the Port St. John's in the Eastern Cape, Lusiki. So this term is in KwaZulu-Natal, where you must bring all those services to assess Katleko's father sitting under that tree shade and then confirm and bring the banks to open up a bank account for Katleko's father right there so that you could then be able to deposit the money and pay and get the family to be taken out of poverty, and the legacy of their fathers and brothers who were in the mines must then be brought back to those families to improve their quality of life.
But as much as there's backlogs, what are some of the inroads that you've made with regards to the payouts that have already gone out to some of those miners and their beneficiaries?
There's been a significant payout in the Eastern Cape, largely because the bulk, almost about 200,000 of our former mine workers are in the Eastern Cape, another 150,000 in Lesotho and Mozambique. So there has been significant payout. But Katlego, if you pay Mr. Mzalose in Lusikisiki and you have not really paid Mr. Zungu in Kimberley, we have not done enough to that family service. But some of these former mine workers are getting old, they are sick, and therefore we need to examine them and confirm and pay as quickly as we can. So we just need to be all over SADC, South Africa included. So when you do a good job in the Lesotho, as we have done relatively well, payouts have really happened in the Eastern Cape and Lesotho. If you have not been to Shai in Mozambique and you have not been to Nongoma, Ulundi, then you have not really done a good service for those families that are struggling. So we want to be all over and pay as quickly as we can, and this is why we are taking this process very quickly. Our principal ministers are waiting to see how far we are going in this process. You probably realize, Katlego, that maybe in the next 3 weeks we'll be elsewhere in the Northwest. Northwest also is coming very, very strongly, but that's another belt of the mining area, Northwest, Northern Cape, and the positivity from the leaders of those provinces is actually saying we need to get this support coming in there. 3 weeks ago, Katlego, I got a letter from the Department of Labor in Zimbabwe to say, please, Dr. Zomo, when are we getting our Zimbabweans who are working in your mines to be compensated too? So it is going out. So paying in Nongoma, Ulundi, next week, next fortnight, is not necessarily paying someone sitting in Harare and in Bulawayo. So you need to be all over, because these are the people who actually use their energy to sweat and get the wealth of our country out there, and in return have not realized what is due to them in terms of pensions and occupational disease benefits.
Most certainly. Deputy Minister, speak to us more about the outreach that will be taking place next week in KZN from the 16th. I mean, you mentioned all the areas that you'll be in. Just take us through some of the programs that you'll be having. Are they open to the entire community? Who can attend and what is to be expected?
For next week, Katlego, is the 3 deputy ministers, Moloi, Kabane and Dlomo, visiting Amakhosi, visiting Izinduna, and the program is set, and visiting other significant leaders in those communities, Pongola, Vryheid, Paul Pietersburg, Ulundi, and Nongoma, to sensitize them to say, you probably know someone in your area, in your district, in your vicinity, who worked in the mines. Please, can you activate them and get them ready? Because the following week, we are bringing in medical experts, teams, work, people are going to do trace and track and get them. So next week is to brief, it's very important to go to these communities having briefed the leadership that actually is overseeing these people. So we are going to be looking into that space Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, and we have covered the area that we would like to cover. The following week, then the doctors will come in and all other operational experts to examine, confirm, and register together with the banks who, if you actually have Katleko's father examined and checked, and therefore next place is to go next door to have his banking details taken up, so that when the assessment has been done, within 2 weeks we can be able to pay. We wish to bring our principals who are ministers towards the beginning of February to say, Minister Mantashe, Minister Pasha, Minister these are the people, 2,000, 4,000 that have been registered, and there's class action trust, and all our departmental processes of operational safety are saying they have all the details. They should be sending and depositing money in the next fortnight. Please come and check with us if all our people have been paid by March, April, so that then alleviation of poverty can be felt everywhere. We move out of KZN, we move to another province, the same should be done following the same pattern. But we are advised by the leadership down there to say, please, let's speak to Amakhosis in Duna first and make them realize we are bringing this very revolutionary program that's going to actually improve the quality of life of our citizens. So that is the start that we are doing next week.
So, Deputy Minister, once the traditional leaders have then sensitized those that are able to come in and take those medical tests, those who are dependents and their fathers have then passed on, what should they bring along in order to be able to claim those benefits that are due to them?
We will really appreciate they may still have a card and an ID of dad who actually worked in Harmony Gold and therefore passed on at maybe Vryheid Hospital or Ichele Juba, and therefore we will go and be assisted by the hospital records that indeed Mr. Mdlalose passed on 3 years ago. It was TB, and we would say TB is very related to silica dust, and this person probably died out of TB that he picked up in the mines, and therefore what is due to this family. So all those people also would be encouraged to come forward if they could just bring the records of the death certificate, the ID of death, and whatever that they probably can have and land on as an evidence that it's not Zomo who never worked in the mines, but it is indeed Mdlalose who was in the mines. That would be of great assistance. We can process the payments of those families too quickly.
Lastly, Deputy Minister, you mentioned going to other areas in the SADC region. You also mentioned the possibility of the Northwest. Which other provinces should ready themselves for this outreach program?
It's Limpopo, Northern Cape, Northwest, and the Free State. Those is where there was really heavily mining taking place. But you realize there's no mining taking place in the Eastern Cape. They went there. DEBA recruited significantly a number of our people from there. So there may as well be people all over. Thanks for this session that you are bringing to us. There may as well be people, because even here in KZN, we are doing the belt that was also in the coal mining, but there may as well be somebody sitting in Durban, but there may be few and far between. We are taking the areas actually guided by the data that we have that in these provinces. But Limpopo, Mpumalanga, Northern Cape, Northwest are the provinces where some of the people even settled there who were mining, and therefore those are the areas that we are going to go into. We have to be very visible in Mozambique, Botswana, and Zimbabwe, up to Zambia, or Malawi included. There are certain Malawians who are here mining and they are back home. And the problem, Kateko, people are dying every day, have not realized these benefits, and therefore we need to get them as quickly as possible, at least for the sake of their family and the legacy of their fathers who were in the mines. They must get some claim. And you realize, Kateko, went to Northwest, and the people were giving us testimony that out of the money that I've received, we have used it as a family. We actually bought 20 goats, and those goats is now the wealth of this family, and this family is dependent on those 20 goats, and every year we have many more goats, and we are living a normal life happily ever after. And therefore, that is what we need to do. But we have roped in the Deputy Minister of SMME, Small Businesses, and also Economic Development, MNC in the province, to say, please, your skills, your officials must come and assist this family. This may be the last 400,000, this may be the last 500,000 that they have. Can they be able to use it properly and be assisted to start small businesses? So we would want to really see this as a poverty alleviation process and the legacy for those people who really spent their times in the mines of our country.
Most certainly. Thank you so much for that and for the initiative, Deputy Health Minister. We certainly do hope that you will be able to reach as many people as possible. Thank you so much for your time this evening.